Well, everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer. Welcome to Wasteland Talks, my weekly talk show where I talk about whatever the hell I want, or my guests what they want to talk about, and that is my buddy Adam here, and we are ranking Terry Gilliam's films, one of the strangest, most inventive directors that you're ever going to find, who loves to bring dreams and sometimes nightmares to life on screen. But are you ready to dive in, Adam?
Yeah, absolutely, of course.
So let's start at your.
Um,
What we'll do is Adam's going to go through his rankings from the bottom up to the top. We'll talk about each of the films, and at the end, I'll just go through my ranking. And if I have any films that you didn't have, we can talk about them a little bit as I go through.
sure, sure.
So let's get things started.
Okay, so at the bottom of my list is a film that I saw a long time ago that I don't know that I really paid much attention to either. So it is last on my list, and it's something I would probably need to watch again. But it's the Zero Theorem, which I don't remember honestly a lot about, so that's why it's at the bottom of my list. Um,
It looked
so
interesting. It had
yeah,
Christoph
it's
Waltz in it. I think Gabe
yeah,
Clueless was in it, if I'm not mistaken. Trying to remember back.
possibly
I remember renting this on VOD, super excited, and then just being like,
yeah,
"What was that?" And then it's just kind of
yeah,
being like what it was. It's his definitely his most forgettable movie, and it's
yeah.
also like convoluted as hell. Like what the hell it's
Yeah,
even
this
about.
is I guess I reckon when I watched it, I just tuned out completely because it wasn't grabbing me. So I really don't remember bugger all about it. Not much at all. So that's no, yeah, that was 11th. That's 11th on my list.
Okay.
At number 10, I'm not as high on this as most people. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I watched
Spoiler
that.
alert, that's at the bottom of my list.
Oh, good, because I watched it again earlier this year, and I remember watching it in the '90s when it came out, and I really liked it. And I was probably again it's a common theme. I was pretty high at the time when I watched it, so I liked it. And it's just like the right guys liked it, so I think I needed to. But I watched it again recently ish, and I was just like, this is not cool. This is not what I remembered it. It's not that great. It's kind of a pain in the ass to watch, to be honest. It's really frustrating, actually. Benicio is superb. I love Benicio. I think he's an incredible
So
actor. But
disgusting. Disgusting in this.
yeah,
Like
but
basically
he's
all I
such a
remember is the opening scene, like we're in backcountry.
mm,
And
yeah. And they
and
randomly pick up. Is it Toby Maguire?
it is Tobey
They
Maguire with
pick
like a
up.
balding
Yeah,
head.
yeah,
Um, this
yeah.
film is so every so often, like I love Terry Gilliam. He is one of my favorite
Yeah. Oh yeah.
directors. But sometimes you
Same.
watch a film and it does not click at all with you. And that's Fear
Yep.
and Loathing for me. Nothing about this movie clicked. And I'm just like, that's the tough thing about directors like him or like a Lars von Trier or anybody who's going to challenge you is that they can make a masterpiece that is challenging and thought provoking, or it could be an utter complete misfire that makes no sense. And I feel like
Yep.
that's Fear and Loathing and Zero Theorem for me. Neither one of them
Yep.
like did much at all for me.
Yeah. Um, and that's fair. The next on my list is a movie I actually really like. I actually really like, but it just goes to show how much I actually really love Terry Gilliam's films. But this is so low. Is Time Bandits. Um, Time Bandits is actually really fun, and it has some really funny parts.
Yeah.
Especially Sean Connery coming in at the end. I thought is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. What a twist.
They, yeah, huge twist. But yeah, apparently there's a story behind why he's in the film, but I won't get into it now. But Time Bandits is really interesting. But what's happening with Time Bandits? You're probably aware that they're actually making a series out of it. Taika Waititi,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I think Jermaine Clement's involved in that one, but maybe not. But he's involved in something Taika's doing. But yeah, looking forward to seeing what that series might be like. Hopefully,
It's
it's good.
it has such an amazing concept. And
Yeah,
the whole idea of this kid being in a completely disconnected, like Matilda-esque, like parental situation where he's just on his
yeah.
own and he gets kidnapped by a group of little people who take him on this crazy journey through time and space. And the cameos that you have along the way, like
Yeah, yeah,
John Cleese as Robin Hood, who's a complete dick, is hilarious. Michael
Yeah.
Palin and it's Shelley Duvall, isn't it? Who are this couple that we
So
keep seeing throughout
yeah,
all of these things. And he's just like,
yes.
oh, my beloved, I love you so much. And it's so over the top and silly. Ian Holm is Napoleon. Chef's kiss. Because I love him.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
great. And like Sean Connery as Agamemnon, the king of Greece, is he has the presence and everything. And here's the thing.
Mm,
I never wanted Sean Connery to do accents. Doesn't matter. It's Sean
no,
Connery.
no.
It's Sean Connery. Go in and do your thing. And he does. He's charismatic. I really enjoy him. It's David Warner, right? Is like the main villain. He was in a lot of things in the 80s. And
Oh man.
he's great. There's so many great practical effects. The absurdist humor in this is just everything about it is so
Yes.
fascinating. Um, this is like this is one of those films that feels like really like Terry Gilliam style. Like this is what
Mm,
his best style is. Like this, and of course the other couple of films that we're going to be talking about that have the same kind of feel as this.
yes. He gets early on getting to know Terry for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. Um, on to the next.
Yep.
Is something I think is actually quite underrated, and I think I'll get into it, I guess. The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. I actually think this is quite an underrated film. Considering what Terry Gilliam did, considering he lost Heath Ledger in the
Yeah.
middle of filming, is actually really special. I think what he does. Um, yeah, it's just actually kind of a bit of a fascinating story, to be honest. And again, it's got those Terry Gilliam isms,
Yep.
the production design and set design in it. It's a beautiful film. I don't know. I think it just has a lot more going for it than people first realized. Maybe if you are not up on it, give it another chance. I reckon because it's really good, really good.
Well, it's a shame that it's most known for the fact that like they had to have Johnny Depp, Jude Law, and Colin Farrell all come
Yeah,
in and kind of fill
yeah,
in for Heath Ledger. But it's a fascinating experience, and yet it is
it
peak
really is.
Gilliam production design and world building and stuff like that. It's a fascinating experience, and yeah, I do think more people should check it out.
Yeah, cool. My next film is something I haven't actually logged on Letterboxd because I haven't been on Letterboxd that long, but I watched it a while ago. Is The Man Who Killed Don Quixote. I remember really enjoying that. Because it's just kind of bizarre and it took there's a big story behind it. It took a long time for that to get made. And you can
So
probably sense that.
long.
Yeah, like decades long.
Yes.
And the fact you got and Adam Driver is Adam Driver. I love Adam Driver and he's fantastic in this. So I think he's what elevates it for me. From memory. It is something
I'm
I will need to watch again soon.
kind of glad that this got delayed long enough that Johnny Depp wasn't that character and that Adam
Yeah,
Driver would be.
yeah,
Because, like, Adam Driver's just great. And the combo of him
yes.
and Jonathan Price is so great. I love Jonathan Price. And it makes me really
Yes, same.
glad to see
Yeah.
him getting a spot like again in a Gilliam film like he did in Brazil and getting like
Hmm.
that meaty role. And he's so great.
He
And
is.
this is
He
such a
really is.
strange meta film of like Adam Driver making Don Quixote. And is Jonathan Price actually Don Quixote?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And it's fascinating what they wind up doing with this. And it's such a I wish more people saw it. I felt like they were just like, oh my God, we finished the movie and just dumped it in the theaters. And
Yep.
it was a
Yep.
special screening. So like I think it was like a Fathom event. It wasn't even like got a wide release in the US. I'm like, I'm so glad I was free that night and actually got to go see it.
Yeah, it's a really phenomenal film. It's something I need to watch again to appreciate, I think.
Mhm.
Um, next on my list is we were recently talking about um, well, in a previous film, the previous video we did together, we talked about Michael Palin,
Yeah.
Jabberwocky from 1977. I
Yeah.
think such a spectacular film. It's just low key hilarious. There's so much subtlety behind it. A lot of those blink and you'll miss it type of gags, sight
Yeah.
gags, and there's this ongoing theme of his um, the evil family that want him to marry their daughter, that type of thing. Michael Palin is just insanely great in this, and
Yeah.
it's just a really fun movie. Really fun movie. I only saw it for the first time last year, and I instantly went and bought the Criterion of it. So
I
yeah,
also
it's
have the
it's fantastic.
criterion of it. Um,
It's great.
it's such it's so of Monty Python and the Holy Grail era of his filmmaking. It has the same
Mm.
vibe, it has the same kind of look and everything. I think it's a fun adaptation of Lewis Carroll. And when you get to see the Jabberwocky, that scene's crazy. And the
Yeah.
practical effects and everything, I loved it. It was that
Yes.
this is one of those movies that it's so worth the payoff at the end to finally get to that point. Because what are we here
Yep.
for? We're here for the Jabberwocky.
Yeah.
When do we get the Jabberwocky? We finally get there, and it was so
Yeah.
worth the journey.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is. It's a fantastic film. Next on my list is something I have a bit of nostalgia for, but again, something I watched relatively recently. Well, almost 2 years ago now. Far out, it feels like 3 months ago. The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, which
Yes.
we're talking about. You're just talking about practical effects. This film has it all. It is amazing. A young Sarah Polley, I believe, is also in this. Sarah Polley, isn't it?
I don't
She won the
recall
Oscar
who the
last
little
year.
girl is in this film,
Yeah, it
honestly.
is. Yeah, it is. It's Sarah Polley. Um, she basically carries the film through, and there's just so much weirdness. It's kind of like a stitched together story. It's just like this fantasy tale being told by Baron Munchausen of how he is where he is, and it's just fantasy adventure, kind of in the realm of Labyrinth, maybe type of style. Like that's so watching that in the '80s at that age, at my age then, yeah, it really stuck with me. And watching it again, well, 2 years ago, I still loved it. I think it's fantastic. I think it's really inventive, adventurous, and yeah, brilliant.
It's this and Time Bandits, and I feel like Brazil all have the same similar kind of vibe and feel to them. Especially this and Time Bandits have that kind of crazy fantasy adventure kind of feel. And John Neville was fantastic as the Baron. He just hamming
Yeah.
it up. You have the likes of Eric Idle popping up in there, and who's like his speed
Hmm.
friend. I love
Yeah.
Oliver Reed, and his Vulcan is so over the top and fun. Just love it. And the
Yes. Yeah.
uncredited Robin Williams as the King of the
Yes.
Moon is
Yes.
insane and so ridiculous and so unexpected. And yet, the practical
Yeah.
effects, the production design, the costumes, everything is just off the charts in this.
Yeah.
But that's so crazy realizing that Academy Award
They're both
winning screenwriter
writer.
Sarah Polley was the little
Yeah.
girl in The Adventures of
Yeah.
Baron Munchausen. Never
Amazing.
realized that one. Things we learn.
This, yeah, there's actually stories, not bad stories, but about that her on the set because of all the explosions. She had to be protected from the explosion. She was actually in danger at one point from stuff that goes on the set. Yeah, they had to. Can't remember the full story. Anyway, I probably shouldn't have started that because I don't know exactly what I'm talking about.
Start in the
My
drama
next
over
story,
here.
my next film up is Brazil, which again I've only seen the once, and it must have been a while ago because I haven't got it logged on Letterboxd. But I just remember Brazil just being really. It's probably one of the most Terry Gilliam films. It's just really captivating. Really, um, just his use of even his filmmaking technique in this, I think, is spectacular. It's a cool story. Like it drags a little bit. There are draggy bits, but it really pays off really well. I think as it moves along. It's kind of
Well,
really
when you watch his version.
what do you mean?
Well, because there's a studio version that has a happy ending.
Oh,
and then his version does not
okay.
have a happy ending.
Oh, I don't know which version I've seen then. I have it on Blu-ray. I'll have to check. I'll have to check that out.
If it seemed happy at the end, you definitely watch the theater version, and if you felt emotionally
Probably.
devastated at the end, then it's Terry Gilliam's version. It
I'll
has a
have to. I'll have
it
to.
has a very distinct, different feel by the end.
Okay.
The his actual version feels very hopeless at the end, and
Right.
kind of just rips your heart out, and you're just like, oh my
It actually seems like that's the type of ending I would like better. Actually, I
god,
kind of like those negative ends. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like those negative endings better because it's realistic. It's live, right? But then I really remember loving Brazil. Jonathan Price again, as you said, amazing. Next on my list is something I only watched relatively recently. It was ticked off my Gilliam bucket of shame. Was The Fisher King.
love it.
Um, the Fisher King is such a fantastic movie. Jeff Bridges, yeah, Bridges and Williams together.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't expect to see Robin Williams naked in it. That kind of took me off guard a little bit.
Dancing in the Wind too. He's all out there,
Yeah, but it's
and he was a very
such
hairy
a
man. It's
yeah.
very, very apparent.
I can relate. It's all good. I can relate. It's just such a beautiful movie. Like it's just honest. What have we got in here? It's never really being able to overcome trauma and living with it and coping as best you can. Really, it's just a beautiful story, and it's probably his most accessible film, to be honest.
Yeah, to be honest,
Yeah,
it really is because like I even watched it with my mom, and she really enjoyed it. And it's sad, like obviously it has sad moments because how tough the trauma is, especially that Robin Williams went through his character in this film. But
yeah,
Jeff Bridges and
mm,
Robin Williams are an amazing pair together. I wish
they
they did
really do.
more
Yeah,
things together because they were
yeah,
so great. And the hallucinations of the Red Knight are some of the coolest visuals in any Terry Gilliam film. They are terrifying.
yeah,
They're beautiful. It's just it's like that and the dream sequences from Brazil are just like up here.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a great movie. You need to check it out if you haven't seen it. Next on my list, number two on my list, is not as good as Life of Brian, but The Holy Grail, Monty Python and The Holy Grail. Look, it's a fantastic film, mostly funny rather than telling a cohesive narrative type of thing, but it's still a fantastic movie and something. I don't know. Going through this list. I actually want to watch every one of these movies today. Honestly, and it'd be great to go through them all. But Holy Grail is spectacular. For a lot of reasons that probably don't need to be said by me.
It's just so funny from start to finish. And it's a brilliant cautionary tale of you should not
Yeah,
take your LARPing too seriously or you're going to get arrested. And then it's all over. Which
I love the guy asking questions at the end. The riddle guy. What is your favorite color? And it's just the questions are so basic. You have to answer
what?
three tough questions.
What is your quest? What is your favorite color? What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? What I don't know. It's like African or European. What I don't know. And he gets
Yeah.
shot. Oh, there was a WoW video in my town. So a video rental place when I was a kid. There was a Blockbuster and there was a WoW video. They had Holy Grail on every single time I was ever at WoW video.
Oh, you're kidding.
I
Oh
kept
my God.
seeing that scene, the whole question scene. It took me until like high school to actually watch the whole
That's
movie. When
great.
I was a kid, I had seen that scene so many times just going to WoW
That's
video.
amazing.
And the most brilliant creative way to get around not having enough budget for an ending.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody gets
Just,
arrested.
just,
I
yeah.
I
Break the fourth wall.
sat there for 5 minutes waiting for the movie to start back up again. And
Oh,
I'm
really?
just like, because like I was like 15. I'm just sitting there like, wait a minute. It can't end there. I hated the ending so bad the first time I watched it. Now it's
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely hilarious.
it's great, right?
You have to get away from the
It's
show.
like,
Huh. I wonder what number one is. I have a feeling it's my
yeah,
number
well,
one too.
yeah, my number one is my all-time number one, and has been my all-time number one for a while. 12 Monkeys. I don't know what else to add about that. 12 Monkeys is a spectacular film. It's it's just underneath. It's a really beautiful film about the circle of life and about, I don't know, just so much more. It's a perfect time travel movie.
Yep.
It's paradoxes are closed off superbly. It's such a great script. Bruce Willis is doing. He's at his peak. Brad Pitt, first Oscar nomination, is just beautifully bizarre and
Yeah.
bonkers. And then Madeline Stowe, she's also great as well. And it's just it's almost like a road. It's almost like one of those road movies, even though it's not really a road movie. They're just going on this timeline of events, and it's really confusing. It makes you think. It's I don't know. I just love 12 Monkeys so
It's
much.
such a fascinating sampling of Vertigo. Like
Okay.
it's very interesting that certain films are able to sample famous films in a certain way, and the way that they watch Vertigo in the film and how that under
Yes. Okay.
like feeds itself into the narrative is so fascinating. It's
Yeah.
like the two best examples I can think of is that, and then Logan when they watch the movie
All right.
Shane in it, and then the whole
Yeah.
second act of the movie basically is Shane.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Okay.
what?
Yeah.
So I think it's fascinating what Terry Gilliam does with 12 Monkeys. It is a fascinating time travel film. It's peak
Yeah.
Willis, it's peak Brad Pitt. Stowe is having a moment between this
Yeah.
and Last of the Mohicans and like that era of like the early to mid 90s. It's just,
Hmm.
and it's a beautiful, fascinating, and interesting looking film. And the score is so weird and bizarre, and it just
Yeah.
fits.
Yeah.
I love the credits
Oh
with like the
yes, the
accord.
credits. Yeah.
Like, is that an accordion?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
and
music.
yeah,
I
and
think it.
just
Yeah. It's because it's based on that French short La Jetée.
mm,
Um, just well, it's not really even a film. It's just a series of photographs with a narrator. But it's
yeah,
even that in itself is amazing. Um, yeah, but that score is it an accordion? I don't think it is an accordion.
it's
I'd like to
something.
look that up,
I feel like
but
it's
it's
one of
playing
those
in my
things
head
like
right
the
now.
that like you're cranking, like somebody at like a
Yeah,
carnival would have and have a little monkey with them.
like an old organ of some kind. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm going to see if I've got the score somewhere.
but yeah, spoiler alert, that's also my number one.
Yeah.
But just to kind of go through my list, so I have seen 13 Terry Gilliam films.
Okay.
So Fear and Loathing's at the bottom, then
Yep.
Brothers Grimm, which I just
Oh
felt like
yes,
was
I did see that.
uninspired.
Okay.
It's literally his most studio film. And
Right.
it doesn't wear well on him.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Zero Theorem,
Hmm.
Jabberwocky, The
Okay.
Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, The Ventures of Baron Munchausen, The Man Who Killed Don Quixote. I think I like that a little bit more than you. The Meaning of Life. I think that was one of the other ones you didn't mention.
I've seen the meaning of life. I didn't realize. Well, there you go. I have to add that to my list.
Be there somewhere. Uh, I think I like Time Bandits a lot more than you too. It looks like so. I had Time Bandits at like number five, but then it's The Fisher King, Monty Python, The Holy Grail, Brazil, and 12 Monkeys. So
Okay.
basically, the only one that I saw that you didn't see was The Brothers Grimm, which I would not recommend
Yes.
for you to go out of your way to watch it. It just it's so uninspired and just not interesting. And you could tell like
Okay.
Matt Damon and Heath Ledger are trying, but like it's just not
Yeah.
that interesting of a movie. And especially when you have a director like Terry Gilliam who has so many great films, it just pales in comparison.
I might drop it lower on my list then, to be honest.
But
As in lower on my watch list, I should say. But as in, yeah.
I wouldn't rush to go checking it out, but like I don't know, it feels like a studio movie, and I
Right.
just don't think that Terry Gilliam vibes with studio movies. You just
No,
gotta let him cook.
no,
Do his weird ass shit off to the side.
absolutely. Yeah,
Just
he's a very independent thinker.
yep. Oh yeah,
Yes, sir.
he has a lot of thoughts on a lot of things.
How
And
he did The Fisher King and 12 Monkeys back to back are kind of like studio films, but I think that the studios have given him a bit of free rein in both of those. Because 12 Monkeys, you can see that madcapness.
well,
Like,
12 Monkeys is out there still, but it's
yeah.
still has
A
like
bit
a
more
pretty close.
restrained.
Fisher King, I think, is the perfect balance of commercially acceptable film and his
Yep.
vision.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I think the relationships, the romance, the dynamic anchors it. And then a lot of the weird stuff is in Robin Williams' mind. So like I feel like that's what
Yeah.
allows it to like feel accessible because we're like, okay,
Hmm.
that's weird, but we can understand like he's having like trauma, mental health issues. That's why that kind of stuff is happening.
Yep.
Like
Yeah,
the whole Grand
that's a
Central
good point.
Station waltz thing, that's gorgeous, crazy. But
Yeah,
here's the thing. I know there's plenty of you out there, I can guarantee it, who have not dove too deep into Terry Gilliam's filmography. You should, because it's worth
absolutely. You should. He's brilliant. He's
it.
very,
And
very good.
you know what? The whole point of this was you should watch Terry Gilliam's movies, and we're two people who definitely strongly suggest that you do.
Absolutely. Well, I'll watch him with you. Just let me know.
There you go. Adam, thank you so much as always for coming on and talking movies with me.
No worries, as always. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank all of you out there for always tuning in, supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.